The past few days in Mexico have been interesting to say the least. Yesterday, we saw convoy after convoy of Mexican National Guard mobilizing in response to the recent cartel violence. Luckily, they were heading to Mexico City and the northwestern coast, while we are heading south to the Mexico border town of Ciudad Cuauhtémoc. Our plan is to cross the border into Guatemala first thing tomorrow morning. So we're back on the road this morning, really windy, steep, mountainous road, so Chris is paying extra attention to the driving, and I'll make this quick. But we spent the night at a place called Camp Lindo that we found on I-Overlander just outside, maybe 45 minutes outside of Tuxtla Galeras, which is a fairly big city, so we're about an hour, 45 minutes out of the city. At this little spot that was just a couple of little restaurant palapas and a parking lot, and we ate at the first restaurant, El Buffalo, and had a really nice Mexican supper. And then we asked if we could stay in their parking lot for the night, and they said yes, no problem. So that's where we set up our camp for the night, and there was actually another overlander that was there as well. They had already tucked into their RV though when we got there, but we saw their rig, and yeah, so we're back on the road this morning. We're heading through San Cristobal towards the Mexican and Guatemala border, and we're going to be stopping in a town called Comitán, and then we need to get the dogs' vet checks done again before we can cross into Guatemala, because the time's expired on the ones that we have already. But this check should get us all the way into Nicaragua now, so we're hoping that we're going to be able to see a vet today. We didn't make an appointment, but we are going to get into town nice and early, so hopefully we can see a vet today and then get a little closer to the border and cross in the morning. But if need be, we will spend 2 nights hanging out close to the border, getting everything squared away with the dogs, and we want to cross the Guatemala border early, so that's a definite must. So we want to make sure that we're there.
Getting to San Cristobal was pretty much straight up the mountain. Very steep, very twisty-turny. Many people transit from San Cristobal to Guatemala. There are buses and transit vans that travel this route daily.
After passing through San Cristobal, the landscape really changes. You're in the mountains, and it's much, much cooler, especially early mornings and evenings. We noticed the locals wearing warmer clothes, and even the goats had really fluffy fur. The grass is very green, thick, and lush here due to the cooler temperatures. The area from San Cristobal to the Guatemalan border has a very strong native Mexican culture, known for pottery and wood crafts. In every little town, the roadside is filled with crafts, and of course, corn on a stick, a very traditional Mexican street food. This was one of our favorite areas of Mexico to drive through. We made it to the quaint town of Comitán. This is a very well-kept and beautiful city. Unfortunately, we didn't get any video footage in town. I was too busy helping to navigate the busy, narrow streets to film. We were able to easily find the veterinarian office that we were looking for, Clínico Veterinario Beethoven. The staff were really nice and were able to see us right away. The vet reviewed Tigger and Penelope's health records and vaccines from Canada, gave them a quick look over, and had their health certificates ready to go in about 1 hour. Different countries have different requirements for pet entrance, but Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua all require a current health certificate which verifies the dogs have all the required vaccinations and are in good health. Current is listed as 10 to 14 days depending on the country. If you're traveling with dogs and want to know all the details about entering each country in the CA4, that's the Central America 4, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua, with your furry friends, watch for an upcoming video that will show you everything you need to know. Leaving the town of Comitán, we are headed for the Mexican border town of Ciudad Cuauhtémoc. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive filled with slow, twisty, turny mountain roads.
We were cruising along, almost to the border, and bam! Stopped by a roadblock. It was getting late in the afternoon, and not looking like we were getting through the border anytime soon. So we had to backtrack to find a place to stay. I overland to the rescue. We found a great spot only about 10 or 15 kilometers down the road.
So this is a great little place that we found on iOverlander. We weren't planning to stay here for the night. We were planning to stay right outside the Guatemala border, but there was a roadblock and we got there and it was about 4 o'clock and we decided that we weren't going to wait around because who knows when it was going to be cleared up. So we decided we better find a spot for the night. So we just came back a little bit down the road, and this great little farm, they make cheese here. So we're here for the night, and if you can hear it in the background, someone up the hill across the way is definitely having a fiesta. And so we've got some great music for the evening. And so in their nice little farm here, they've got some ducks, there's chickens, there's turkeys in the back, and they have a couple of dogs. Yeah. It's a really, really nice little place. Rancho La Cruxes, or Rancho Las Cruxes. So we're in here, they have a gate, we're underneath a tree, and we decided it's time for a beer.
Make the best of it.
Hey, we've got nice weather, it's nice and breezy and cool for the pups, which is good. We've got fiesta music happening across the way, so yeah, what more could we ask for? So we were on a bit of an adventure today. We needed to make sure that we got new vet certificates for the pups before we cross into Guatemala. The vet checks from Canada or from anywhere, they're only good for 10 days to get into Guatemala, so we need to refresh. And this vet check should take us all the way into Nicaragua. So basically we have 14 days from now to get into Nicaragua, which is our plan. So we should only have to do it once, but definitely a bit of an adventure. So we looked online before we left this morning to find out where a couple of veterinarians were, and then we found that the town right close to the border, it wasn't showing there was any veterinarians. There may be, but we didn't want to backtrack. It's about an hour back to the next major city that has veterinarians, so we found a good spot. Veterinary Beethoven, yeah, spoke to us. So we, Chris did wonderful driving, weaving in and out little city streets.
Bunch of one-way streets in this little town, and really a pretty town.
Really pretty town.
Yeah.
The name of the town was Comitán? I think it was Comitán. We'll put it in the bottom of the screen spelled correctly. But really cute little town. We found the veterinarians without too much trouble.
It wasn't too hard to find them. Yeah.
Yeah. Parking was a little bit trickier, but we were able to get a spot actually right in front of the vets, went around the block. And Chris stayed with the car, and then I went with the dogs, and took a little over an hour?
I think so, yeah.
A little over an hour. We didn't have an appointment. I don't know if they even take appointments there. Maybe they would if you called, but we weren't sure exactly when we were going to get into town. So our plan was to get into town early. We arrived a little after 1. Found the vet place, got the dogs in, and then they had to do all the paperwork and get everything ready. So yeah, not too difficult, but yeah, it's nice the way we kind of timed our trip that we won't have to do it in every single country. Check the requirements. For some countries it's 10 days. So I know Guatemala is 10 days, and I believe Honduras and Nicaragua are potentially 10 days as well, and Nicaragua is 14. So we've got lots of time.
And I believe the price was 700 pesos.
Yes, it was, and that was for 2 dogs.
That was for 2 dogs.
Yeah, so pretty reasonable. They only take cash, or they would have done e-transfer as well. So we're set. We're just camped out here. We're about 36 kilometers from the border, and so we'll make a go at it in the morning.
Yeah.
We do need to stop at the bank and our bank machine and get some cash, because we think we don't quite have enough cash to cross the border. But yeah, so hopefully we can find a bank machine fairly early and get on the go.
Yeah.
A huge thank you to Fidel and his family for allowing us to camp at his farm. P.S. The fresh cheese here is amazing, so if you're headed to the border, stop by and pick up some. It's about 25 kilometers from the border. Look for the small sign on the left-hand side of the road. Hi guys, so I'm here on the road just behind our vehicle. We're about 25 kilometers from the Guatemalan border. We tried to get to the border town yesterday afternoon, but there was a roadblock. We got stopped, we waited for a bit, and then we knew it was soon going to be getting dark and it wasn't look like it was letting up, so we decided to turn around. We found a little spot to camp for the night back about 10 kilometers. We were giving it a go again this morning. One of the ladies there said she thought that it was still closed. We thought that it maybe had opened up last night, so anyway, 10 kilometers down the road, we decided to give it a go. No, still blocked, and I was talking to the nice gentleman who runs the hardware store across the street. He said it's not typical, this doesn't normally happen here, but it is political. He said probably might be like a day or two, and your best bet is to find a hotel and just get someone to check if it's open, and then when it's open, leave. It is quite a ways to go up and around to get to the other border. We'd have to backtrack like 2 days and then like probably another 2 days to get down and around. Unfortunately, there is one other road that would take us to the other border, and it might be like a day's drive, but to get to that road you actually have to get through this roadblock. It's about 10 or 15 kilometers down the road. So I'm gonna jump back in the car and Chris and I will chat and we'll figure out what we're gonna do. So there's lots of vehicles getting up there and turning around. We didn't go quite to the front line. We were like right at the front line yesterday afternoon. I think it kind of just started when we got there yesterday afternoon. But then there's some smarter people. They're a little further down. Oh yeah, some of these big trucks, they're like, yeah, calling it a day. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We waited roadside for about 2 hours and then decided to call it and headed back to the city of Comitán, back through the windy roads. We stayed at a small motel and enjoyed a day of rest, had showers, and were able to charge all of our devices and do some video editing.
We enjoyed some tacos and some quesadillas for supper and headed to bed early in hopes to cross the border tomorrow.
Third try's the charm. There's no roadblock today. The owner of the hardware store had messaged us to let us know that the blockade had been cleared. It was a semi-peaceful protest, but they were throwing large rocks and breaking car windows and causing damage at the front line. One obstacle down. Now we need to figure out how we will exit Mexico with no stamps on our passports and no vehicle tip. Wish us luck. Hopefully, we won't be stuck in Mexico any longer and are able to make it into Guatemala today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next amazing adventure.